Looks like it's working.
Working?
Yep.
All right, it is now 6:30. I'll call the August 4th City Council meeting to order. Join me in closing.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, welcome everyone. Roll call. Councilmember Meyer.
Here.
Councilmember Lippin, or Councilmember Reeds.
Here.
And Councilmember Ling.
Here.
Councilmember Lippin is absent and Councilmember Matz is right now absent. Also present is City Attorney Ken Jansen and City Administrator Jessica Stanky. All right, there are some changes to the agenda. Under the consent agenda, we're removing the on sale Sunday liquor license for A-Town. I guess we did that last month. And then we'll be adding resolution 35-2025. We'll make that 13A. And that is a resolution authorizing subsidy in the form of a reduced land price. So I have a motion to approve the agenda with the changes.
Make a motion to approve the agenda with the changes.
A second.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Ling, second by Councilmember Meyer to approve the agenda with the changes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Is there anyone like to address the council tonight that's not on the agenda or part of the public hearing? All right, seeing none, we'll move on. I do need a motion to close the regular meeting and open the public hearing.
Motion to close the regular meeting and open the public hearing.
I'll second it.
Motion by Councilmember Reed, second by Councilmember Ling to close the regular meeting and open the public hearing. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Would you like to
Yeah, I can
explain?
give some background.
Yeah.
So I think in 2006, part of Memorial Park back here, or I'm sorry, Fairview Park was transferred over to Good Sam's, and there was an easement put in place for them to use like another couple feet so they could do their addition. But now new owners are purchasing the property and their title company is asking for the city to vacate that portion of the parcel. So that's part of the public hearing. And then later there'll be a resolution approving the vacation.
Any comments on that? Anyone wants to comment on it? Council members, any thoughts? Well, that's simple. All right. So then I'll entertain a motion to close the public hearing and open the regular.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing and open the regular meeting.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second it.
Motion by Councilmember Meyer, second by Councilmember Ling to close the public hearing and open the regular meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. Consent agenda. Tonight's consent agenda consists of approval of the bills and approval of the July 7th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes.
I just had one correction on the minutes on the bottom. It says, Councilmember Reese voted against hiring the third maintenance worker as he is missing, but it says, was not involved in the planning and hiring the maintenance worker. That was never my comments or concern. My comments or concerns from day one was that I had no idea what was going on with the hiring because it was all talked about and discussed prior to my term starting, and that there was no information given out as far as applicants and interviews. In fact, I didn't hear anything until after the council meeting last week or last month when I talked to Ling, so Councilmember Ling. So I just wanted to make sure that got corrected in the minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion to approve with the correction in the minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve with the corrections to the
Okay.
minutes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion by Councilmember Ling, second by Councilmember Meyer to approve the consent agenda with the changes to the meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, moving on to new business. Item 6 is the street project update. Eric, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Been another busy month on the street project. Since we were here last month, crews have finished installing all underground utilities for the project, so that's a significant milestone to have that completed. Crews have also finished road work, curb and gutter, bituminous paving on all of Brooks Street, on 6th Avenue from Brooks to Chandler, 8th Avenue from Brooks to Chandler, and then 7th Avenue from Chandler to Douglas. So all the kind of critical fair area, and we're able to complete that prior to the fair. Hopefully that worked out well during the fair time, having that completed. And then they've also finished placing sand and gravel on 6th Avenue and 7.5 Avenue from Brooks to Main Street. So that's really the last portion of roadway to be worked on. They've got the gravel there, and they are planning to pour curb on that this Wednesday is the plan right now, with driveway work to follow in that area as well as the other areas where they weren't able to complete, like Brooks, 8th, 6th, and 7th. And then bituminous driveway work will lag a little bit. That'll likely happen when the bituminous crew comes back, which is currently scheduled for the week of the 18th, when they would pave that 6th Avenue and 7.5 Avenue from Brooks to Main Street. Also, when that bituminous crew mobilizes again, their intent is to pave the wear course or the final lift on the work that was done last year. So that would be Alden Street, 7th Avenue from Main Street up to Chandler, and then also Chandler from 7th to 5th. So they'll be placing the final lifts on those portions. All the work that was completed this year, the final lift would happen next year. Give that a winter to sit to see if there's any corrections needed in the springtime. And then the last substantial piece of work is the topsoil and the seeding. I'd anticipate this week you start to see some topsoil being placed on Chandler, on Brooks, on 8th, 6th, and 7th as well. I think seeding might be a couple weeks out yet. We'll see what the weather does, looking for a stretch of dry days, which we are starting to get some drier weather. So anticipate that happening this month as well. The other areas, so that'd be 6th Avenue and 7.5 from Main to Brooks, I would anticipate seeding there probably late August, maybe even early September. So really everything's on track for the substantial completion date of September 1st. Good that we're in that position with the weather that we've had. So once you've seen that topsoil completed, then it'll really just be what we call punch list work for the rest of the year. So that's city or myself and representatives of the project will go out, review the work that's been completed, make sure it's satisfactory, make a list of items that aren't satisfactory, give that to the contractor, and they'll work on completing that prior to wear course in some cases and prior to final payment certainly. So I'd expect that to continue into next year even, along with that final paving. So that's really what I have for an update. I guess I'll take any questions that you guys might have.
I think the only one that's been brought to me was mailboxes. When do you plan on putting them in?
They'll come after seeding. Yeah, it's been a long wait for the folks on Chandler. I certainly appreciate the patience. They don't want to have to work around those or, damage them potentially while installing the seeding. So get that seed in and then get the mailboxes in.
Do you have any complaints with water coming in with the last rainfalls that we've had?
I have not heard water in the basement. I have heard from Lee Ortloff that the plant is receiving, it looks like, less water during these rainfalls. So it looks like the pipe changes have made significant improvements. I do think the change from clay to PVC has been significant. I think that clay was really acting as a drain tile almost in that neighborhood. And now that's not there. So some pumps might be running a little bit more frequently now, but less going to the city sewer system, which is great.
Are you aware when they were building the sub-base, subgrade, did they come across any substandard soils where they had to put in extra granular? Because we haven't seen any change orders.
Yeah, we had a couple spots. So we handle that. We've got contract items. It's called subgrade excavation and stabilizing aggregate. So we had a little spot by the hospital and then another spot on Brooks, but really not a whole lot. The contractor's done a really good job of conditioning the soil. Maybe you've seen they kind of disc it up almost. We call that farming, to dry it out, get it to the right moisture content, and then compact it, and it's performed really well once it's dried out. So that's been nice, actually, big savings in that regard.
Any other questions? I think everything was good, and that's about the only questions I've had from people, the mailboxes and that kind of stuff. I know Chandler, and I think you explained that to me, or somebody explained to me why shifted just a hair, where you looked up in the street and it's kind of shifted. There was a reason for that, I know.
Yeah, there's an offset in the right of way, or just kind of the right of way of Chandler Street. So we kept the road centered on the right of way to balance the impacts of properties on both sides. So that's what's going on there. So the jog in the right of way as well, transition to the intersection.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you. So then we'll move on to item 7, the pay request number 9 for the 2024 street project. Looks like it's in the amount of $773,992.04. Need a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to approve the pay request for $773,992.04.
Second?
I'll second.
All right, motion by Councilmember Meyer, second by Councilmember Reeds to approve the pay request number 9. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right. On to so this would be the street work that was done this year for number 8, right?
Yeah, the street maintenance.
Yeah.
Eric, you can.
Yeah, I can give a little update. So Third and Alden was in here a little while ago. We basically reclaimed and then repaved those areas, reclaimed them, reshaped them, and then replaced a couple of some just pavement.
Okay. And that is that amount to 68,342.24?
Yep.
Okay. All right, any questions on that one?
That's actually under the original bid, even with the.
So there's retainage that you see, so after we pay out the retainage, will be slightly over the original bid is at 69.7.
There was a couple of correction points there we had to dig out and do some
Correct.
restabilization.
Correct.
Okay. So I have a motion to approve the pay request number 1 for the 2025 street maintenance.
Make a motion to make the payment on estimate 1 for the street project, 2025 street project.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Reed, second by Councilmember Meyer
That
to,
would be Councilmember Ling.
Lang, sorry.
Same Kurt, but.
Sam Kirk, give me a break, it's been a long week. Saw a lot of people this week. Motion by Councilmember Ling, second by Councilmember Meyer to approve the pay estimate number 1 for the 2025 street maintenance project. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. I even called the Gaylord Islanders Green Islanders this weekend. So
That's all right, Joe.
That's okay.
thanks. Thank you. All right, on to number 9, 2024 audit presentation. Welcome.
Thank you, Mayor, and Council. My name is Tom Olinger. I'm the Governmental Service Partner for ABDO, so I'll be here to do the audit presentation. Kelsey, who has also been part of the audit for the last few years, will do part of the presentation here, but we'll certainly go through it at a high level. But if you have any questions on the audit report or anything else, I'd be happy to answer those. So, as part of the process, we'll talk a little bit about the audit opinion. Kelsey will talk a little bit about the general fund results, and I'll talk a little bit about the other governmental funds, which are the special revenue funds, capital funds, and debt funds, and then we'll show some graphs on the enterprise funds, and then just a few key performance indicators as we kind of go through. So, as part of the audit opinion, we do have an unmodified opinion, which basically means a clean opinion on there. So, as part of our audit process, we do on a test basis. So we don't test every single transaction. We do it on a risk-based approach. So we evaluate risk, make selections, and then do tests with that. So that's kind of our overall process on what we're doing. And as part of the process too, we do talk about Minnesota legal compliance, which we have state statute guidelines that we have to go through various testing on a sample basis, things like deposits, investments, debt, tax increment, miscellaneous, and conflict of interest. So we have a checklist to go through there, and we do that also on a test basis. So I think with that, I'll turn it over to Kelsey just to talk a little bit about some of the audit results that we have, and then we'll circle back and get some other information into it. So
Yeah, I can discuss like the 2024 audit findings. So our first one was a limited segregation of duties. And this is very common with smaller cities. It's better just to have the finding. Otherwise you have to hire more employees, which can cost money, then you're having unnecessary spending. So this one is very normal. And then our next one was unclaimed property with outstanding checks. So this one is a legal compliance finding. This has been a finding for multiple years. So like our recommendation for this one would be the city either reaching out to the state and submit the unclaimed property, or reach out to who the check was made out to, just to kind of get them off of the bank rec because they are so old. And then if you do have any questions with reaching out to the state and getting the unclaimed property submitted, we are definitely more than happy to help you out with that as needed. And our last finding is an inventory count. So as part of our field work, we typically like to do an inventory count for on-hand inventory around year end. And we were unable to do that, so we just wanted to bring this to the council's attention. Just to note the importance of getting an inventory count at year end or near year end, just so we can verify that inventory amounts are accurate and correct on the financial statements. And then this one is just for the prior year audit findings, which was a limited segregation of duties, and then the legal compliance finding with the outstanding checks. Both of those carried forward to 2024. So with the general fund balance, we did note an increase of budgeted expenditures for 2025, which is common, just kind of knowing inflation is always increasing, and then just your basic expenditures, you know, maintenance and upkeep on vehicles. And then we also had a note with unassigned fund balance is greater than your fund balance policy of 40%. It's currently at, I think, about 60%. And this is okay, but it's just kind of good to be aware that you do have this extra unassigned fund balance should you need it. And we figured it's approximately $400,000 higher than what it needs to be, so that is just available funds for the city to use. And then our expenditures also had increased from 23 to 24 by quite a bit. And this was mainly due to the new capital project between 23 to 24. And then our general fund budget to actual. So we noted that actual revenues were higher than budgeted. And this was mainly due to additional state grants that were received, as well as insurance reimbursements. And then we had also noted an increase of building permit expenditures, which correlated with an increase in revenue related to the building permits. And then lastly, overall expenditure increased. The expenditures increased mainly due to capital outlay purchases. So for general fund revenues by type, we noted a large increase in property taxes from 2023 to 2024, and this was likely due to cover the increase in budgeted expenditures, which makes sense. And then the intergovernmental revenue is very similar to what we've seen in other cities, just the slow, steady increases. And then in the other revenue category, we noted a little bit larger of an increase, and this was due to the license and permit revenue that I had mentioned earlier, as well as the sale of capital assets and then interfund transfers. And then, since general fund expenditures by type, we noted larger increases from 2022 to 2023, which can just be more like inflationary related, and if there's larger projects going on. And then we noted that the increases from 2023 to 2024 appear to be mainly due to inflation and normal business practices. The only one that we noted was pretty significantly different within the other category. And just looking through the financial statements, we figured that was likely due to capital projects started during the year. And then most of these costs will be reimbursed with bond proceeds.
Okay, I'll kind of go over the capital project funds. Kind of taking a look at that, the 2024 project did have 2.6 million. So with that project, you'll see on a few of them where there's certain proceeds that went into the water, sewer, and stormwater, and then a portion that went into, this is mainly the street portion that is included in there, which is the 2.6 million. So we did have that increase from the deficit, which really the bond proceeds covered the previous preliminary costs that were tied to that. The one other item to note is the tax abatement. We did have a deficit in there for this last year, which is some of the preliminary costs and payments out to there, which will in turn be recouped by the tax abatement revenue coming back in for that particular fund. The capital equipment fund, which is kind of the capital revolving fund, had about 200,000 in there, which was a slight decrease from the previous year. I know with Kelsey talking a little bit about those excess dollars, I think, in the past, we've talked a little bit about trying to shift the capital outlay out of the general fund. So there is that opportunity that, you could certainly transfer additional dollars from the general fund over the capital and pull that capital, and then kind of continue to try to work on having the majority of the capital come out of this capital equipment or capital revolving fund. So there is that option where that could be a transfer over moving forward there. So special revenue funds. So kind of taking a look at, just a few of those funds. We have the ambulance fund did have a decrease this year of about $60,000. Majority of that comparing to budget was payroll related. That had excess payroll over budget, which drove down that fund balance a little bit there. We have the COVID dollars, which are just small interest. We did spend the ARPA dollars, remaining ARPA dollars for this last year. So got that spent down. So that interest that's sitting in there is just available to be closed out, and it's not subject to any restriction related to that. So, and the rest of the funds, really, I think kind of taking a look at the community hall did have a small decrease in there, so that fund balance is getting down there to about $9,000 for that fund. So that's something just to kind of take a look at and monitor that trend that's out there. So. Special revenue funds, as we kind of noted, here is kind of breaks down the fund balance, which is restricted, kind of means basically the dollars are restricted by an outside source area. This is normally kind of tied to the revolving loan portion of it for the restrictions, and then at the time, any COVID dollars or anything related to that. But overall, all positive balances with that. Kind of taking a look at the economic development funds. So we have the economic development loan program fund, which did, have an increase this last year. Thing to note on that 536,000, 453,000 of that is cash available for the loan program. There's about 85,000 that's asset held for resale that part of the sale, then you'll have the cash coming in. So that portion is not available for loaning out the dollars. And as you can see, the majority of it, or all of that is, or majority of that is restricted. Debt service funds. So this is the portion of the debt that is being paid back by either taxes or assessments for this year. So the overall cash for this year, or at the end of the year, was about almost 1.3 million. And the total assets is about 3.5. The gap between that is future special assessments that are going to be collected. So those assessments are kind of collected in line with the payback of the bonds. So annually you'll get dollars coming in to help pay back those dollars there. So we do for 2026 with some of the bond issue that we talked about earlier that coming on, that the principal and interest did increase for 2026. This graph kind of shows your future principal and interest payments going forward. So we do have that increase in 26 as those debt payments come in, and then kind of decreasing slowly as you kind of go on. Anytime there's those increases in the debt service, that kind of results in potentially an increase in the debt levy too. So I think that's certainly something to note and be aware of as you kind of move forward. The trend with the debt, and kind of keep this in mind as you continue to levy forward, is that, both costs of projects are going up from debt that's dropping off, and also, previous debt that you had, or, at the 2% rate versus now you're looking at, the 4 or 5, if not more, kind of moving forward too. So combination of those two, kind of keep in mind that, that debt projection is probably going to continue to go up as you continue to do projects and move forward. So just be a bit aware of that as you plan ahead on your debt levies, to kind of make sure you kind of have that increase going forward to cover some of those costs that could potentially be future. And the idea of that is to try to avoid tax spikes, because all of a sudden, we got a levy to cover a particular project where increase in the overall levy.
So the difference between 31 and 32, and then again in 34, that's when the 2012 and 2015 funds.
Yep, dropping off. Yeah. So you look at the maturity dates of your debt. Unfortunately, 28 is kind of the first one that's dropping off there. So you got a few years before that drops off. And then 31 and 33 as some of those bigger ones drop off there too. So, but yeah, that's kind of the idea. When bonds drop off, you bring new ones back on to kind of keep that cycle going. Okay, the utility funds, taking a look at the water utility fund, I wanted to point out that even though there's additional cash in that bottom graph, there's a portion that is unspent bond proceeds. So if you kind of take a look at the orange piece of that, that is kind of really your operating cash that is out there. So we did see a little bit of a decrease in probably the last couple of years, a decrease there. The thing that I'd point out in the top graph there is, not only is new debt going to be coming on, so your black line or your black bar of that is going to increase as you go forward, but you also can kind of see the operating costs go up for the yellow line too. So, your margin of the water is, especially over the last few years, has really shrunk down there, and really taking a look at that minimum balance there, the operating portion of it is kind of right at the minimum there. So if that kind of keeps decreasing, then you do that. So I think looking at this trend, whether there's been a rate study or evaluation on that, I think that's important to kind of take a look at a few of these funds, especially as new bonds come on. Really kind of the same with the sewer fund. I think that has a little bit more of, where it's staying pretty steady with those dollars. We do have about 500,000 of that cash as unspent bond proceeds. But once again, that black portion, the debt portion, is going to increase next year as those payments come on and kind of work through that. So, really kind of taking a look at that, that gap between the line and the top of the orange bar on there is really kind of your reserves for whether it's capital or any repair needs or anything like that that's kind of out of the ordinary. That's your reserve. So, but overall, that piece has stayed pretty steady year over year. The electric fund, we have, I know a while back we were concerned about some of the cash balances there. I think in the last couple of years we've had that increase. As you kind of see, the revenue has increased in 24 and was able to kind of keep the overall expenditures pretty flat there, which resulted in that increase in cash to be about 879,000 there. Still below that kind of operating minimum there, so there's not a huge amount of capital, obviously no capital reserves there, but we're moving up to that operating level, and the expenditures in electric just are a lot more. That's why that operating line is a lot higher than the other ones there then too, so. Stormwater, when this came on, the intent was to help pay back some of the debt portion or the stormwater portion of the debt. So as you can see, the majority of it is debt related for the expenditures there. So we did have a slight increase in overall cash to 315. Not huge reserves in the stormwater, but once again, we're going to have about 780,000 coming on the books of additional debt to be paid off. So, I think that gap of stormwater and debt is shrinking there. So, I think note that if there is going to be capital paid out of there, like any improvements or anything that's just going to be cash funded on there, that's going to drive down cash as you move forward. So be aware of that if there is those, whether there's repairs or anything that's significant coming out of the stormwater. Last couple slides here, the overall cash and investment balance by type. So we do see the spike in cash of about a little over 10.5 million. Keep in mind, 4.5 million of that is unspent bond proceeds. So that really kind of pulls you back to, a slight increase, probably back to a little bit above the levels of where you were for 22 if you take out that piece of unspent proceeds. Couple items here, just kind of piggybacking on some of the, we talked a little bit about the general fund taxes. This is the taxes in total, which include both the debt service and general funds. So the overall tax rate takes into consideration market value, and then the taxes per capita is just the straight levy compared to what the per capita number is. This is pretty common on what we're seeing with the taxes per capita of that increase continuing to go up on the inflationary piece. On top of, just having general fund inflationary costs, this should follow accordingly to that. And then, if there's any debt requirements on there. So that piece looks pretty well the same. We have seen the tax rate kind of continuing to decrease and kind of below the averages of where the Sibley County and Class 5 cities are. So this kind of means that even though your levy is going up, your market value is increasing within the city there too. So I think, the thing to keep in mind there is the market value just organic across the city, or is it new market value? And I think, as new market value comes on, whether it's, commercial or residential, that plays into, your levy ability. And then also if there's any tax increment that drops off or tax payment that drops off, that is opportunities to increase the levy without having the impact on the citizens on there. So I think having conversations on the budget side of, determining what that market value increase is important to put in perspective of this overall tax rate. Long-term debt per capita, obviously we saw the spike with the additional debt that did come on there. And we saw a little bit of that, which is pretty common with cities your size, is to have these spikes that come up based on the needs of what you have. So you go back to taking a look at what your debt service funds are doing and kind of cash flowing that overall piece is what's important here. Debt service expenditures as a percent of current expenditures did have a little bit of an uptick related to some of the interest that comes on, but we're going to probably see that increase next year as the principal and interest of the new bond kind of comes on play there. So last couple items here, taking a look at the current expenditures, that trend that I'm seeing is pretty common there. Unfortunately, the state doesn't have the 2003 numbers, so we can't really do that. But what I've seen on kind of on the back end of my presenting, I've seen that trend all the way through. So it's really kind of following up. So I think that will be important. Capital expenditures, we did have that spike for 2024 as we have some of those construction costs on there. I think what I would say, kind of reinvested in some of the roads, kind of monitor this as you kind of go through that, the idea here is to kind of consistently have that capital replacement going through and, the more you can even that out, the better as it, obviously it's a big project. It's shooting up this year, but I think that's a trend to kind of keep looking at kind of reinvesting in equipment and not just, the roads and stuff like that as you kind of move forward. So with that, I'd certainly open it up to any questions that the council might have.
I don't have any in your presentation, was great.
Well, good. We'd like to do that, and that's, we've had a positive response for that, so that's good.
All right. I'm good. If anybody else got any questions, everything's pretty good and clear cut, so thank you.
Okay, yeah, well, if any questions do come up, feel free to reach out to us, and thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, moving on now. Ambulance agreement for backup coverage. Jamie. Good evening.
Good evening. All right. In your guys' council packet, there was a copy of a service coverage agreement. Just want to make sure that I clarify that this does not replace mutual aid agreements we have with any other service around the area. This is a little different. So with that in mind, the reason why this kind of came about is the fact that towards the end of August, I'll be pursuing my surgical side of treatment modalities. And I just want to make sure I set our service up for success. And this is one of the things that we can ensure that. If you look under section F, service area coverage, letter B, I just wanted to let you know that Minnesota State Statute 144E is the state statutes that basically allow our ambulance service to remain compliant with the current laws. And under B, I just wanted to denote that this coverage, it can be up to 24 hours a day and not to exceed 108 hours a week, should we have to call for help as far as covering our service area. And we have to keep it logged on our schedule too, just to remain compliant with the state. But issues that this might come into play would be like if we had ambulance failure. If one of our trucks was up getting serviced, and say we had a deer strike with our other ambulance, that would put us down with no trucks. So therefore, we wouldn't be able to cover our service area until we were able to secure a rental possibly, just to make sure that we can still provide service. So this is why this agreement is important. Weird things happen. We just want to be prepared. I don't anticipate anything to happen, and we'd like to keep those furry four-legged creatures in their wild habitat. But just wanted to share kind of an example as far as why this would be important. Do any of you have any questions about it?
Gaylord is the only one that we have to have the agreement with, because those are the two communities that are potentially assisting each other and.
Yeah, those are, yes. To sum it up, yeah. They're the closest appropriate ambulance service that would be able to still provide services at the same certification level as we are. So we have the part-time ALS license as they do too, with review. So, yeah.
Ken, you did have a chance to look it over, had no.
Yeah, I was able to look it over and, made a couple edits. I thought it looked great, so I think this is good to go.
I appreciate that, thank you.
Okay, so I just need a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the ambulance service agreement with Gaylord.
For a second?
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Lang, second by Councilmember Meyer to approve the ambulance agreement for backup coverage. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. All right, we'll move on to interim ambulance manager proposal.
Okay, so, in lieu of my, medical leave coming up to maintain operations, the city administrator and I kind of discussed, some of the options that we could do, and because my assistant manager is at kind of that EMT scope of practice level, really isn't very familiar with, paramedic level services that we provide. And so we were able to kind of put this together for you to peruse and see if this would be appropriate for ambulance service while I'm out. What are your thoughts on that?
Do you assume that we're gonna find somebody that's gonna be willing to post in for a part-time position like this short term?
Well, fortunately for us on our service, we do have several paramedics who do have experience in leading and are familiar with our billing practice. I would hope that they would consider taking this. I feel that it would give them some flexibility because the handful that we have, they do have primary jobs during the day as well. I would just hope that if this is something they would consider helping us out on a part-time temporary basis, we would exercise some flexibility.
So how would it work, Jamie, if one of those part-time paramedics are here on their call basis and they're drawing their standby wage or whatever wage they are, and then they would do this at the same time, or this would be run on a different day than their on-call basis?
Ideally, it would be nice if they were running truck time and doing this at the same time. In a perfect world, that's what I would expect to see.
I guess, but my question leads to, we're not double paying that.
Right, that's where, yeah, I would draw the line as well.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking about, was our internal part-time.
Yes, this is definitely something, the job and the responsibilities that they would have kind of on their plate. It would be manageable if they were able to do truck time at the same time. So,
And then maybe it would expand their knowledge base also.
yes.
Any questions? I'm assuming we need to approve this then?
Yeah, if you guys would
You wanna
approve this,
approve
then we'll work on,
I'll make a motion, we approve the interim ambulance manager proposal.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion by Councilmember Meyer, second by Councilmember Ling to approve the interim ambulance manager proposal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate it.
All right. Under the resolutions, we have Resolution 29-2025. This is a resolution granting the installation of a septic and well system on a commercial property located at 40950 State Highway 5 in Arlington. Someone like to introduce this resolution? I'm assuming this is for Soquel.
the next couple resolutions are all the Soquel.
Okay,
I'll introduce resolution number 29-2025, granting installation of septic and well system permission on the property listed.
okay. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, resolution 29-2025, introduced by Councilmember Reed, second by Councilmember Ling. This is a resolution granting the installation of a septic and well system. Vote by roll call. Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember Ling,
Yes.
Councilmember Reed.
Yes.
3 in favor, none opposed, 2 absent.
All of these, I just was making sure we're referring for all of these.
How did that be?
Some of them are 4/5.
I can't remember.
We would just need the quorum.
The quorum on these.
Okay. So yeah, 3 in favor, none against, 2 absent. The resolution passes. On all these resolutions will be okay tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Resolution 30-2025, this is a resolution approving property tax abatement for a certain property located in the city limits, and that would be for the Soquel project.
I'll introduce resolution 30-2025, resolution approving the tax abatement for the so quilty.
Okay, good. Second.
I'll second.
All right, resolution 30-2025, introduced by Councilmember Ling, second by Councilmember Meyer, is resolution approving property tax abatement. Roll call again, Councilmember Reeds,
Yes.
Councilmember Ling,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer.
Yes.
3 in favor, none against, 2 absent, the resolution passes.
This is the additional one that we
This
added.
is the additional one. This is, resolution 35-2025, a resolution authorizing a subsidy in the form of a reduced land price for parcel ID 31-08884.000. Someone like to introduce it?
I'll introduce that resolution 35-2025 for the land sale at the reduced price.
Okay.
I'll second.
All right, resolution 35-2025, introduced by Councilmember Ling, second by Councilmember Reeds. This is a resolution authorizing subsidy in the form of reduced land price. Vote by roll call, Councilmember Ling,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeds.
Yes.
3 in favor, none against, 2 absent, resolution passes. And resolution 31-2025. This is a resolution approving development agreement with So Quilty Properties LLC. If anyone wants to see it, we have it here. I think we reviewed it before.
Seen a couple times, yeah.
So if there's any questions on it, or someone can introduce the resolution.
I'll introduce resolution 31-2025.
Okay. There's a second.
I'll second.
We'll go Reeds.
Just put Kurt.
Kurt.
There you go. Resolution 31-2025, introduced by Councilmember Meyer, second by Councilmember Reeds. This is a resolution approving the development agreement with So Quilty Properties LLC. Councilmember Ling,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeds.
Yes.
3 in favor, none against, 2 absent. The resolution passes. All right. This is gonna be,
This is a rezoning application that our planning and zoning department reviewed. I'll get down to it here. It's over on 110 Suffolk Circle. In the packet, there was a map and the whole application. Planning and zoning is recommending approval. We couldn't find any evidence as to why we wouldn't be able to rezone this. So this is R1, this is R2. Apparently at one time, this was all R2. Michael's findings report was in there. Again, this was sent to planning and zoning. They've recommended approval of the rezoning to R2. And probably after that, we might be just looking at that whole R1 to potentially rezone to R2, but this resolution is specific to that parcel.
okay,
And I think our applicants are here.
all right,
The only difference between R1 and R2 is single family versus
Yeah,
townhouse. and-
correct.
right,
Yep.
Twin homes.
Twin homes, yep.
yeah.
They want to build a twin home on it.
Okay. So someone like to introduce, resolution 32-2025. This is a resolution approving the rezoning of parcel number 31.0719.570. Someone like to introduce it?
I'll make a motion to introduce resolution 32-2025.
Second.
All right, resolution 32-2025, introduced by Councilmember Meyer, second by Councilmember Reeds. It is a resolution approving the rezoning of a parcel. And vote by roll call. Councilmember Reeds,
Yes.
Councilmember Ling,
Yes.
and Councilmember Meyer.
Yes.
3 in favor, none against, 2 absent. Resolution passes. All right, and the next one is 33-2025. This is the resolution from the public hearing to vacate a portion of the Fairfield Park Memorial Park Edition.
I'll introduce resolution 33-2025, the resolution for the rezoning, or the resolution for, to
Vacating.
vacate it, yeah.
Yeah.
The Parkview, Fairview Park.
Okay, is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, resolution 33-2025 is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Arlington, Civic County vacating a portion of Fairview Park, Memorial Park Edition. Vote by roll call. Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
Councilmember Reeds,
Yes.
and Councilmember Ling.
Yes.
3 in favor, none against, 2 absent, the resolution passes. All right. Item 18, business hardship application memo.
So last month we approved our policy to be able to offer this business hardship application, to have certain fees, certain municipal fees waived. And I put together this memo, just outlines, we did receive the application, we did receive all the documentation, and then the fees that were applied for. I think what is important to note about this is that we're making sure that most of our city fees are covered with the fire. The applicant was able to cover a portion of our fire fees. We did have some damaged equipment, so we were able to recoup some of that through our insurance as well. That's why I was able to recommend approval of the remaining $6,335 of the fire fee. And then I did outline the permit fee and what part the city retains versus what we have to pay the state of Minnesota and our building inspector. So that's all outlined in the memo. You guys can ask questions, or if you have other ideas, this is what I had put together.
So the fire fee amount, $11,335, the difference between that is the $5,000 that was paid by insurance.
By the individual, by the business, they did pay that, yep, and then we were able to cover some of our other fees through our insurance with damaged equipment. So.
And I realized the permit fees is basically the money that the city has expended towards the building inspector's fee and state fees.
Correct.
Which only leaves about $737, I think, to be reimbursed.
Yeah, $764.96 was what I came up with.
Right.
When I looked, and we knew when we put a policy together, something's gonna not be perfect. When we look at the policy it says the policy does not apply to fees for services by external agencies. So was it the intent of that it would mean that it wouldn't cover our building inspectors?
I think the intent would be for if we contracted out, like for instance, Bolton and Mink with the street project, if they did a job for you as a citizen, you get billed separately. We can't waive their fees, but this is billed through us. I don't know, Ken, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's the way I would.
That's how I would interpret it as well. These would be expenses coming to the city. I don't think we would have the authority to waive. If the building inspector was billing them independently, I think that'd be all in the bag.
So if we waive the state fees and the building inspector fees, we're basically paying that out of the city coffers.
Correct.
But it's really the same as if we pay our firefighters and we have firefighter expense and we're paying them, we're waiving that fee.
Yep, and that's why I felt it important to break it out to show that. And maybe I should have broke out the fire fee to a next level, but we were able to cover our fees with the fire. We're not out anything by waiving that. Lisa, you helped do the math with me on that one, but we were able to cover wages. With that insurance claim on the damaged property, we were able to recoup some of that. So if you waive the $6,000, the city's not paying anything out of pocket
And when
or
this,
losing anything.
when this went before the EDA, was it the EDA's intent that it would be, and just for lack of better terms, that would be dissected this way, or was it the EDA's recommendation that the city just erase all these bills? Because I think this went before
Well,
the EDA.
The EDA wanted us to put together a program, and that's how we put together the policy that I brought forward. I didn't even bring that to the EDA because ultimately it's the city council. So they asked me to put together the policy. I brought it to you guys. That's kind of how we got to this point.
The only reason I'm asking these questions is we got a business that we all know burned down and has probably expended in excess of $20,000 just to put a fence around a bunch of ashes.
Yeah.
And anything that we can do to help them is the only reason I'm bringing up the discussion.
Okay.
And I broke it out just so you guys would understand all the fees,
Yep.
but yeah, within the policy, it's at your discretion.
I'll make a motion to, introduce resolution 34-2025.
Okay. Is there a second?
On that, like Kurt's saying, we could pay some of that building inspector fee as well?
Yeah, I mean, for the policy, they would be allowed, you guys are allowed to waive more than what I put in there. I just broke it out so that you would know where we were hitting our break even. And technically not really break even because we're still paying city staff, so you
Right.
can kind of take that out of it, but I wanted you to understand where that permit fee below was coming
I'll
from.
second the motion, Mr. Mayor, just to keep the discussion going, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so the total amount of that's gonna be waived is what, the $7,099.96? Is that what
That's what I put in the resolution.
So then of the permit fees, he would still have $5,903.
Yeah.
So what are you saying, Curtis? You'd like to,
I'd like to meet him at least halfway.
of the permit fee?
Yeah.
It's money that the city expended out of the taxpayer's pocket. But to help the business out and the intent of this waiver, I agree with what you're saying. I don't know if we're setting precedents. I know.
I do too. I
There's also
agree with
something
it
in here
too.
about not setting precedents.
Right, it'd be nice to keep covering our fees, and I think that's my opinion, is that as long as we cover ours, and the overage that whatever Jessica's figured out seems to be otherwise it falls on the taxpayer just to pay for it, and
I thought I seen a statement in this hardship form that claimed that, claimed something about that we weren't gonna be setting precedents by any decision that the council made. Discretionary authority, the granting of fee waivers or reduction due to business hardship is at the sole discretion of the Arlington City Council. There is no automatic right to a waiver, which means it's up to the city council to decide if we're gonna waive it. But it doesn't protect us from future precedents setting.
Well, and they also have to meet the application guidelines of demonstrating a loss, which this applicant has, so that also is something to consider for future, depending on, total losses versus.
And I think that the policy kind of leaves that door open for us to look at the circumstances of, what happened and the expenses and how that all played out. So we can do it kind of by case basis to kind of cover us from that, setting that precedent going forward. Or we did it here doesn't necessarily mean we're doing it down here.
So do you know why the building permit fees are so high already on the building inspector and state side? Is that because of his proposed project and all the reviews that's went
It's
into
part of the
it already?
valuation, yeah, Lisa can help me explain this, but there's a formula that we have to use, part of the valuation.
The fees are based on the project value, and then of that.
So it's the review that went into the proposed project already.
Well, he said it's an
Permit fee.
approximate, yeah. Not to
Based on the
overstate.
approximate value.
Yeah.
Of the project, that's what the permit fee is calculated on, based on the fee schedule. And then the review is a percentage of that on top of it.
okay. Well, okay, so resolution 34-2025 has been introduced and seconded. So is there any more discussion on it?
I'm not comfortable. And this is just my opinion, just having them to come up with this $7,000 to $8,000. And I realize it's money out of the city's money that we've already written checks out to the building inspector and to the state of Minnesota for building inspection fees.
It does state in your policy though, the reasons why you're doing it is that you want to support economic growth, economic health in the community. So those are the things, so that's why we can do tax abatement. That's why we can do all that other stuff. It's the same reason, because we want to make sure the economy is strong and the businesses are healthy. So I think if you're worried about justifying some of that, that could potentially be used.
But for the most part, our costs are covered. This is the overage that, well, I don't know.
Well, I think
The
that's
fire fee
almost
is the
a
biggest one.
The fire fee, we did cover our costs.
Right.
I think with the permit fee, maybe I should have broken out. I didn't want it to make it look like the $700 isn't our cost. It is also our cost. We still have to pay our planning and zoning person. We still have to do all of that. So
Right.
I just wanted you to know where that total number came from.
The biggest part of the total number is the fire fee that they owe us, that he owes yet. I mean, permit fees, you put, I mean, that's the cost.
Yeah,
of
we only
building.
get what, 10 or 15 or 20% of
Yeah.
the actual permit fees. The rest of it goes to the state.
It goes, yeah, goes everywhere else. So the biggest part of this chunk is the fire fee, which our costs are covered. So yeah, then the final amount that we would be waiving would be that $7,996. Okay? Ready to vote?
Yep.
Okay. So Councilmember Ling,
Yes.
Councilmember Meyer,
Yes.
and Councilmember Reeds.
No.
Okay, so 2 in favor, 1 against, 2 absent. That passed then, or that does pass? Okay,
Pass.
resolution passes. Thank you. All right. So the agreement for 17 and 34, I think this is a yearly thing we
Yeah,
have
these
to
are
do.
the maintenance agreements we do every year with the county.
Anything change in it from last year?
Gosh.
I think it's just a
Standard.
thing that put together, right?
Yeah, I think it's the standard boilerplate every year is the same. We just have to approve it. Any questions on it?
No.
All right.
I make a motion to approve resolution,
No, that one just, that's just to approve the agreement.
Casad Highway 17 and 34 county agreements. Motion to approve.
Okay.
I'll second.
Motion by Councilmember Reed, second by Councilmember Ling to approve the CSAD 17 and 34 agreements, county agreements. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. All right, 31 or 21, fault indicator quote.
So we talked about this at our utilities meeting. I'm trying to work with Emerson on getting us a number. Just got this right before the meeting. So not extremely confident in asking you guys for your approval yet. I think we need some more.
Quotes.
Yeah. I was a little surprised by the quote for the labor. So I just want to understand this a little bit more before and maybe bring this back to our utilities committee before I ask for the $43,000 investment. I know these are really important pieces of equipment that are gonna help when we have outages. And I guess I'll follow your guys' direction if you want to move forward, but being that I just received this right before the meeting and I would like to understand the labor costs before we order all of these and potentially even get a second quote. But I wanted you guys to know that we're working on it still, and I do think it's something eventually we want to do, probably sooner rather than later, but.
So these basically indicate when, if the power's outage,
Yeah,
where
they're
it's
gonna
out.
be placed through town.
Yeah, they put them in certain areas of town on certain feeder lines, and then evidently when there's a fault, there's lights up there, indicators, and it'll tell them in which direction the fault is, so they don't have to go from pole to pole.
Save some time on that.
Yeah.
In the long
Makes
run, it would
sense.
hopefully shorten the length of an outage and also our labor costs for when we have McLeod respond. So I think it's a worthwhile investment, but I
Yeah.
just want to understand the numbers a little better before.
Is there other companies that provide this
Yes.
service? Okay.
Yeah, the quote anyway for the hardware.
Okay.
So that's why I'd like to get a second quote.
You know, then maybe if we ask Emerson, what's the time frame? Because maybe
Yeah, we don't need to do them all.
43,000 isn't gonna be
Right.
done this year, and
Right.
it'll be split between 2 seasons. I know we do have the money in electrical right now,
Yeah,
but maybe it can be split.
so I want to get in front of you at least so you knew what we were working with, and I'll bring it back in September hopefully.
Sound good? Agreement. Okay. So old business codification.
So I've submitted a couple of our first reviews to Civic Plus, and I'm waiting to hear back from them. I have a couple other departments that I need to send their notes for, but this is just an ongoing, probably gonna take a lot longer than we initially planned, but I want to make sure it's done right. And then I wanted to ask Ken how to involve you in this whole process, and if you wanted to wait until we got, because I'm also trying to figure out how to involve you guys without going through every single.
I think what gone through this a couple times with some of the other cities, and what has worked easiest is if we just kind of piecemeal it,
Okay.
rather than just dump everything on me. And
Yeah,
then I dump everything on you guys, and if we just take it by like,
Sections.
yeah, code 1, code 2, and then.
Which is what I did. I gave all the departments their sections.
It is overwhelming when you look at the email that I was sent, and, I mean, I got,
Very overwhelming.
yeah, it's just,
So the intent is they're gonna codify or merge what can be merged, but then they're also gonna identify the duplicates or the crossovers for review and or dissemination.
That's the hope. What I found with a lot of these in the other cities is kind of they just compile everything together. They make it nice and look nice, but we found that much of it is still outdated, and we have to update a lot of it and make sure that cross references are right. So it's pretty tedious, and so, yeah, I think we gotta go through it pretty good with a fine tooth comb and make sure it's right and it's gonna work for us.
They separated out though what was against state law though, right? Or
They submitted their first, like, legal review with all of their changes. So that's what was sent out to everybody.
Gotcha.
so yeah, they cited some of the state stuff and, but, so once we get that, I guess then we can,
Yeah, I mean, I'll just keep, I'm gonna
Taken
keep this
away.
on the agenda so that we just keep talking about
Yep,
it and giving
we don't
updates.
want to, yeah, because I know that was part of the city code and the ordinance fixing that was one of our goals to get done, so we're getting there.
So it may be worthwhile just to start taking a couple sections at a time back to the council, just so we don't overwhelm everybody and just dropping everything, and
Yeah.
give you guys an opportunity
Once
to
it's all-
review everything.
All codified, we gotta approve it all, don't we?
Well, we'll have to do readings and.
Readings and all that fun, so. Okay. Well, reports, city attorney update, Ken?
Well, just as we were going through quick, I guess it kind of caught me off guard, on the resolution. I'm fairly confident that we don't need a 4 or 5, for these resolutions for the development agreement. But I'm gonna confirm it. Obviously, if we need to do it, we need to do it. We'll have to bring it back to a special council meeting or
Yeah, we do
something.
it.
But I'm fairly positive we don't need to, but I'll confirm with Jess.
I just thought of it as we were doing it. I know some of
Yeah.
them, like taking on debt, you need.
There
a
are some,
specific
yeah,
amount
I
of-
can't remember what those are, I've read it somewhere, but,
There's definitely a lot of goofy rules that go along with these subsidy agreements. So I'm fairly confident that we don't, but let's be sure about it. So I'll let Jess know.
okay.
But as for, I guess, general updates, things have been going pretty well. Knock on wood, has been fairly quiet lately. So a lot of this development agreement stuff, working through that. Yeah, and then just kind of a couple things here and there, but nothing too crazy. So I don't have much to update you today.
So with the legal part of the sole cruelty property, that we should be done with.
So the plan, so the EDA, they approved of the transfer. That was last Monday.
21st, so
The
the
21st?
11th is the day we can, because we have to do the 20-day.
So there's a 20-day waiting period for, I guess, any residents can appeal it to the district court against the, I guess, the transfer of the property. And then once that is done, that period is gone, up and done, we can go and transfer. So the city council, they approved of that transfer tonight. So we should be able to go forward with that. We approved of the utility, so they can put on the septic and the well. And the tax abatement, so pretty much our part is done. The county, they approved of the tax abatement. They did a reduced amount of, I think they knocked off about $50,000 in their tax abatement that they're approving. But they approved that. So the development agreement, that should be good to sign. And at this point, we should be good to go.
Awesome. All right. All right, any questions for him? Move on to city administrator update.
I don't have a whole lot. Along with those fault indicator quotes, we've been working on our SCADA computer out at the wastewater plant. Needs replacement. Just got a quote again this morning, so I didn't ask for approval on this yet, because again, I'd like to understand more where all these dollars are coming from. Right now, it's coming in at just under 25,000. That includes a VPN, some security stuff, which I think we already have. So I'm gonna schedule a call with Preferred Controls, myself and our IT, just to understand if there's a couple things we already have, we can maybe get this quote down a little bit. But it is something we've budgeted for the last 2 years, and it does need to be done. The computer out there is Windows 7, so it's time to take care of that item. So I'll bring that again in September for you guys to be ready to approve. And we also had a request today for the fruit truck to use the west parking lot on Sunday, the August 24th from 8 to 8:30, as long as they provide proof of liability insurance. So you guys are okay with that? And then I was hoping we could maybe set some workshops for the budget this month. I have a couple dates, just wanted to get your guys' feedback. We could do the 11th at 5:30, we could do the 18th after the EDA. And we could also do, which I think we should regardless, before our September council meeting, we could just do a
Right.
before the.
You wanna do a couple workshops or just one? What do you wanna do?
If you wanted to, we could do the 11th if everyone's available. If you, then at that point, if you feel like you wanna do another one on the 18th, it gives you that ability. I would like to have some of the department heads there so that they can answer questions.
So next Monday?
Yeah, or the 18th. I think either way, we still have a Monday in between.
Yep.
So, for me, the 18th would work better, but we'll make it work if you guys wanna do Monday the 11th.
I could do either one.
Okay,
It's no difference to me.
let's do it the 18th.
That would be great, cause I gave department heads to the end of this week to get me there.
Okay,
And then I'm
That'd give
meeting
you
with
some
Lisa
time.
too, so it gives me a little more time.
18th at 5:30, right?
Actually, we have EDA, so right after
so
EDA.
6:30 or 6:30.
6:30.
Okay,
And so I'll send out the notes for that.
and then we'll decide if we wanna do another workshop before the meeting at that.
Yeah, and again, this is preliminary, just has to be in by the end of September, so we do have some time to schedule some more things before.
We have to approve that at the council meeting, don't the preliminary though.
Yeah.
So we'll have to,
Yes, so preliminary needs to be in, but you'll have some more time after that to work out kinks and get down to the final. But yeah, we'd like to be as close as possible.
okay,
That's all I have.
all right, so June police report, any questions there? That was in your packet. People services, and then the statement of funds and the budget review. Or year to date, any questions on those? All right, I'm gonna share with you a letter that I received, and I'm surprised it was just sent to me and not to the city administrator, but I did forward it on. This is from the Lutheran Home Association in regard to the Highland Creek residents. I'll just kind of to whom it may concern, the Lutheran Home Association has decided to close the Highland Creek residence in Arlington, Minnesota. The decision was made after experiencing consensus challenges and conducting an analysis of the challenging market in Arlington. As required by state law, Highland Creek residents submitted a resident relocation plan to the state of Minnesota. During the transition, Highland Creek residents will continue to provide quality Christian care to residents. The facility will remain open until each resident is relocated. We'll work closely with residents and their families throughout the planning process. And that was submitted by Margaret Lambrecht, the Regional Director of Disability Services for Highland Credit Wins. Just wanted to share that with you. That's a notice of closure that I got. All right. So, moving on, then just some dates. Tomorrow night is the Arlington Night Out at 5:30 at the park, right?
Four Seasons.
Four Season Park. And the 18th will be the EDA at 8:30, and then we'll do our workshop after that. Planning and zoning is the 21st at 6. And our next council meeting will be September 2nd. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Meyer, second by Councilmember Reeds to adjourn the meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 7:44. Thank you, everyone.